Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Hollywood After Dark. It is the 1st of July, 2025. Today we're going to be talking about the fallout over the creative changes following Elio's disastrous test screenings. Glen Powell is back and filling some shoes that I didn't think he could fill, but I'm not going to lie, it looks pretty cool. And the new casting for Street Fighter is, yeah, you know what, not bad. But it's Hollywood After Dark. Let's fucking go. It's the first day of July. You know what that means, folks? We're in the home stretch. We're in the home stretch of the summer. We are in the home stretch of the craziness that's going to happen over the course of these next few weeks, at least movie-wise. Okay, so we've got Jurassic World Rebirth, which I'm actually seeing tonight at midnight, which I just totally realized is tonight at midnight. That's crazy. I kind of forgot, to be honest with you. I thought it was tomorrow, to be honest, but it's tonight at midnight, so I'll be able to have my review for it up in the morning, because I was not able to get to a review for today, but tomorrow, Jurassic World Rebirth, so there will be that, right? We'll find out if I think it's good, bad, or that raft scene made me orgasm, and I'm hoping that the raft scene makes me orgasm. I mean, I just like to orgasm in general, right? But that's a little bit TMI, a little bit too much going on here in the morning. But today, yeah, man, not only do we have the Jurassic World coming out, we've got Fantastic Four on the horizon, right? We're going to be seeing a lot of ramped up marketing for that thing. Probably leaning more into the whole family side of it, because this one seems to be doing that. It almost, you've got like Jurassic World has got Dolores the Triceratops, obviously meant for marketing and selling toys and stuff. You've got the baby Joey and Superman, which is obviously meant for selling toys and stuff. And then Crypto, also plushies and everything else. And then you've got the Herbie and the baby and everything with Fantastic Four. And the family. I feel like the movies in July are really heavily pushing like the family motif, and the thing is, I don't think that's done on accident, to be honest with you, right? And I say that because families are going to be a large part of the driving force behind the box office. This is just kind of how it goes, right? You always want to like appeal to the four quadrants, get the families in there, get them buying the popcorn buckets for $40 a fucking pop, get them the popcorn, the drinks, the candies, everything they need. And then you sit down and if you're an AMC, you're going to be exposed to even more advertising, because today is the start of AMC's new initiative where they're going to add more adverts to the movie. But I do believe in some locations, I'm hoping all locations, they will advertise that the movies itself doesn't start until 25 to 30 minutes after the posted start time. Look, man, I'm just going to say it. You want me to go to movies? You need to cut the shit out, man. Okay, my time is worth money, and you're charging me a premium, and you are not respecting my time. You are not respecting my time. And this has nothing to do with the movie itself. I like trailers and everything else, and I don't even really mind the ads. I don't mind the Nicole Kidman thing, even though I haven't gone to an AMC in a long time, for a new movie at least. But again, like, it's just this idea that we have time, right? Our time is the only thing we can't ever get back. So, I do try to keep even these shows, I try to keep them like on track, and like definitely not an hour, right? I'm trying to keep it, solid 30 minutes, get you in, get you out, get you happy, get you wet, that kind of thing. But again, I think, what, ideally, how about this? Ideally, Hollywood After Dark should be 30 minutes on the nose. And so what you should do is be able to go see a movie, put on a new episode, and just listen to it. And then by the time it's over, your movie begins. How about that? Wouldn't that be nice, folks? Wouldn't that be good? I'm not trying to be an egoist. I'm not trying to be egocentric here. I'm just making jokes. But no, we are in the final stretch. Like I said, Superman comes out here in a couple days. I've talked about it to death. I'm sure I'm still going to talk about it. It's made people very upset, some of the things that I have said. And you know what? Look, I just kind of want to quickly address something about that too. I feel like I like to lay out an argument, I like to lay out my argument for why I think the way that I do. And I had a passenger at work recently who was a law professor, and we were talking, and she was like, "You'd be a good lawyer because of the way that you lay out your argument." And I'm like, that was a really nice compliment. You know what I mean? And so I look at that and I'm like, when I explain things, and in my mind, I think I'm explaining them in a way that it makes sense, right? I try to provide as much info as possible, sometimes a bit too much. So I don't know. I've explained everything to the best of my ability. If at this point in time, I don't know what to say to that. So I'm just not going to worry about it, I guess. I'm a people pleaser. But I just don't get that. That part gets me. Anyway, yeah, so Superman. We talked about the upskirt shot stuff from yesterday. I'm surprised that the fewer people care about that than I thought, right? I really am kind of surprised about that because this is something that's this is a big flub. And I think had it been Marvel, had it been Sony, had it been Universal, had it been anyone other than what we're seeing, then it being Superman related, people would have been up in arms about it. But you cannot, with certain people, criticize this movie in any capacity. And I mean that and this isn't even criticizing the movie. This is criticizing a wardrobe malfunction that somehow made it into the final, the final cut of an advert. I don't know. I feel like there was some stuff that was lost in the sauce here. And somebody made a mistake, and I feel somebody should be held accountable for this. And then because if no one says anything, and if no one, whatever, then of course it kind of feels like you've got this, like it almost was done with intention, and it's going to be really hard to shake that narrative, and that is a very weird thing. Anyway, yeah. So if you haven't heard that yesterday's episode, go ahead and check that out. It's there. Also, funny thing too, James Gunn. I saw this clip floating around this morning. Again, I can't show any marketing. Warner is they're sniper heavy right now. But in this interview, he was talking about how he gets a lot of trolls, right? He gets a lot of comments said to him and a lot of things, kind of roll off his back. But every once in a while, something just kind of gets in there. Someone says something that just kind of gets to him. And, he makes a comment that's very odd, but also very specific if you know the context. And he mentions I think I'm just listening to some 12-year-old kid from India. Right. And I've seen people pop that up and say oh, James Gunn is racist against people from India. No, there's context to that. There's 1.4 billion people in India. Superman as a logo, right? As an entity. I don't even want to say as a character, but as an idea, is very popular in India, right? The Superman logo is very popular in India. Everything is really big with that. And I feel there's a lot of Snyder fans that come out of India. If you've ever really paid attention to the Snyder fandom online, then you would see that there's a lot of people that come out of India. And so, yeah, I think that's largely what it is. I think he knows the internal data because there have been investigations into the Oscar campaigns from a couple of years ago where you had the fan favorite moment and then the Oscar cheer, whatever it was called. And Snyder won both of those. And then there was, an investigation potentially showcasing that there was manipulation on those votes from outside sources coming in from bot farms, probably from India, because that's largely where the bot farms are located. So again, kind of just take that with a grain of salt, right? It's not him being racist. It's just him pointing out, I think, subconsciously letting it slip that he knows where a lot of the internal data is coming from. And this is stuff that they honestly don't probably want to expose, but that is largely probably what it is. Although if you were to ask the Snyder Bro fandom on Twitter, are you Indian, bro? they would be like, no, I'm from Burbank. Right? No, there's a lot of stuff that comes in from India. So there's that. I just find that to be kind of funny that it's a nice moment, to be fair. James Gunn isn't really one for mincing words, right? But ever since he became the studio co-head, he has had to kind of really scale it back, because now he's got to represent an entire company, represent an entire, studio. So his words have weight. His words carry, so, and there's a lot more scrutiny on him. So he's got to be a lot more careful. And this is actually one of those moments where you're kind of laughing and going all right, This is the James Gunn that we know and we love, the one that will come out and fire a shot across the bow that will just like shut people up. And I kind of wish that James Gunn would come back, right? Like I really hate, this is one of the things, and I'll be honest, like Chris Pratt, for example. It's like when Chris Pratt found Jesus, he stopped being funny. Everything about him was serious. He stopped being entertaining. And I haven't really enjoyed him outside of the MCU since, because he's not funny anymore. I mean, he's kind of like lightened up though, but when he first did it, it was pretty bad. So there's that. Anyway, July, man. What do you guys plan on seeing? I'm going to see all the movies, the big ones, right? I got my tickets for Jurassic World. Superman is in a couple days, and then I got Fantastic Four at the end of the month, man. I'm hyped. I'm excited for this month, because once we get past this month, it's going to get into a little bit of a dry season, a little bit of a dry spell. But we did get a trailer today for a movie that I can't say I was all too hyped for, but now I'm 100% sold on. And that, of course, is The Running Man. Now, listen, I have to kind of preface this. Okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Running Man is one of my all-time favorite movies. I absolutely adore that film. It is infinitely quotable, infinitely rewatchable. It is so much fun, and it is something that you could never replicate. And so now Edgar Wright is coming on in, and he's giving us the version of the movie that is more in line with the book versus what we got out of the original film. And what I love is that this trailer is all like, based on the novel by Stephen King. And I'm all like, it's Richard Bachman. Okay. It was published under Richard Bachman. All right. But no one's going to, people who know Stephen King are going to know that deep cut, but other people are going to be like, oh, Stephen King. So this is definitely more in line with that. I mean, obviously there's going to be changes and everything else. And it's not going to go back and kind of recreate the aesthetic of the original film. And I don't think you're going to be able to, right? Richard Dawson was amazing in that movie. Schwarzenegger was amazing. Maria Conchita Alonso was awesome in that one, right? You had freaking, what was it? Dweezil Zapov, Yaphet Kotto, the one big, here's Sub-Zero, now just plain zero, right? Like, hey, follow me, Christmas tree. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, I love it. It's so good. It's such a fun movie. Jesse Ventura's in that one too, right? It's such a good movie. Oh my God, I love it. Anyway, I kind of want to go watch it again. Pull up my 4K copy. No, I don't have it on 4K. I need to go buy it on 4K. Now, maybe I'll do that today. Maybe I'll go spend more money on physical media. How about that, huh? Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. Either way, this trailer looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Glen Powell just kind of hamming it up a little bit. It gives me a little bit of like Nedivine Taylor vibes, like gamer vibes, Crank vibes, but in a more stylistic approach that Edgar Wright delivers on. And I feel like we're going to get something real special out of this, honestly. It just looks to be like it's going to be a blast. Day one buy for me. Even Michael Cera has got, from a little bit in the trailer with Michael Cera, looks pretty solid. Looks like there's a really kind of like satirical sense of humor in this that's going to have maybe a lot of biting commentary, especially given kind of how, he's being hunted for 30 days and there's drones following him and all these hunters are after him and everything else. And, what's really funny about that is in the early 2000s, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were pushing this idea of a game show that was a reality show that was literally the same thing. Right? You as a contestant had to get from like point A to point B without being caught. And like, I forget what it was called, but it was like, that was the reality show that they were trying to make. And I'm like, I feel like that would be an interesting thing to do, but harder in social media days. But at the same time, you'd have a lot more accessibility to video footage, but you'd still have to craft it in such a way to where it like would come across as a dramatic show. I mean, the editors would have to do just insane heavy lifting, but it never went anywhere. And I think, honestly, I just, it's an interesting concept, but it'd be very difficult to pull off. Either way, this movie is dropping in November. And yeah, man, totally bring it on. What I'm waiting for is the inevitable Arnold Schwarzenegger cameo, which I think will be in the movie, and I really, really, really hope that it's not spoiled in the trailer. I was kind of waiting for that with this trailer, especially at the very end of it. which I won't spoil what happens, but when it showed like the title card and then it faded back in, I'm all like, I'm waiting for the Schwarzenegger cameo. It's not there, but something else is that's actually really cool, so I'm totally down for that one. Yeah, a lot going on today. So additionally, we had an interesting situation in the box office last weekend. So Megan 2.0 hit theaters this weekend, and now we're basically saying, hey, Megan, it's 2.go, or time to 2.go. Damn it, my puns are just not on point today. The movie came out, $10 million domestic, $17 million globally. Not the greatest haul for, a movie that's a predecessor. Ended up grossing approximately, what was it, $30 million on its opening weekend, right? And this one only did, 1/3 of that domestically. But its budget was still small. Surprisingly, the budget for Megan 2.0 was only $25 million. So, I mean, opening to 10 million, 17 million globally, 25 million. I mean, it's got a chance to make its money back. But it does kind of speak to this larger problem that Blumhouse is having, because they've had a lot of bad runs recently. 2024 was not a good year. I think they put out 4 movies and none of them really kind of failed or really kind of rise to the occasion. And then, this year, I think they had The Woman in the Yard, which was just a horror story about a woman in the middle of the day wearing black sitting in a yard. I haven't seen it, but the trailer kind of gives away the whole premise. We just don't know what the twist is, and also speaking of Megan, there's actually even a spin-off movie that they made called Soulmate, which may never actually come out now. Probably will be relegated to streaming just to be able to show it. But I don't think they're going to put it in theaters. And this, again, like I said, this is Blumhouse's biggest problem. It's having trouble creating these new franchises that are actually really, able to kind of kick it off. 10 years ago, right? More than that, we had Paranormal Activity, we had Get Out, we had The Purge, we had these movies that kind of redefined horror in certain ways, or the way that audiences looked at horror. And horror is in no way having a slowdown, right? We're in this new golden age of horror. And it's good horror. There's great visuals, great gore, great kills. I mean, look at the Terrifier franchise. Whatever you think of it, you get movies like The Ugly Stepsister, which isn't really a horror movie, but it's very much a drama with some elements of it, But then we get stuff like Smile, which does well. I hear Smile 2 is better than the first one. I need to see Smile 2. The first movie was okay. It wasn't really the greatest thing I ever saw, but it's kind of everything that's happening with Blumhouse right now feels like they have moved so far away from everything that they set out to do, and it's getting kind of sad, right? A few months ago, Jason Blum, I think drunkenly, a lot of people speculate that he was drunk when he posted a screenshot or posted a selfie, kind of waiting for, I forget which movie it was, the box office to come on in. It was a big one that failed recently, and it's difficult to look at that because Blumhouse used to be kind of where A24 is right now with horror. If you saw the Blumhouse logo in front of, or Blumhouse, whatever, in front of a movie, you're all right, yeah, we're in for some shit, man, and then now it's just not really doing it. And you're what the hell's going on, guys? Horror is not that difficult to do. It's really not that difficult to do. This is a situation, though, where they are moving. They just got to start cranking out $5 million movies, man. Less than that, right? Go and find some some new filmmakers, some new voices, because whatever they've got going on isn't working. And I think a big problem is Jason Blum himself. I think that, because I feel he's gotten more into the idea of being a studio head rather than an actual creative, And I think it's something about when Megan came out a couple of years ago and he dressed up like a Megan robot and went to a premiere. And I was just looking at this, is this a midlife crisis? Is this guy just kind of losing his mind? I don't even know. But I feel bad. And I hope that it works out well for him, but I don't quite know. Speaking of things that I'm cautiously optimistic about, I guess, and I'm hopeful things are going to be okay, we got ourselves some more casting for the Street Fighter movie. And it's kind of wild. And a lot of people are getting really kind of ticked off at it. Like, Street Fighter fans just want a good movie. Okay. And I'm like, you had one in 1994. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? I love that movie to the end of time. I love that damn movie. But so now we got this new casting, right? They announced today that, and I'm going to mispronounce his name because I always do, David Dastmalchian, from Late Night with the Devil. He was Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad. He's a good actor, great actor. He is playing M. Bison in the new Street Fighter film. How in God's name is he playing M. Bison in the new movie? How is that happening? How is that a thing? Like, you don't like think of it. Like, it's not like I wonder, in my mind, I'm wondering if they are trying to base it more off of the Raul Julia approach to it from the 1994 film rather than, what like M. Bison is in the game, right? Because, David's got to come out with like this really, very kind of like, like very masculine, very like, right? Like, M. Bison's not, he ain't no schlub, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that he'll play a schlub, but I mean, like Raul Julia, well, maybe not having the physical size of Bison. He had this gravitas about him, right? This way about him, like there's that line of like, like, you will always remember that day that I came into your village and I killed your family and I whatever, but for me it was a Tuesday. Like that kind of stuff. Like, are they going to go back into that kind of thing? I'm not too sure. Okay. And then you've got like Roman Reigns is playing Akuma. You've got Jason Momoa as Blanka. That ought to be interesting. I mean, physically speaking, good casting. Noah Centineo as Ken. Kalina Liang as Chung Li. 50 Cent is Balrog. Okay. Orville Peck is Vega. Andrew Schultz is playing Dan Hibiki, the comic relief character. I don't know that character personally. I maybe I'm missing some Street Fighter. I haven't played Street Fighter since Street Fighter 2. I feel like you don't have to ever since then. I hear Street Fighter 6 is pretty good, but like at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, man. It's like whatever. And then the movie is being directed by Kitao Sakurai, who you might know from only one movie that he did. Well, one recent one. It's A Bad Trip with Eric Andre. And was it like Little Ray Howery, whatever, and Tiffany Haddish. And it's more like a kind of like pseudo prank movie with an overlying plot. Think Borat, but like a lot more. I think Borat kind of is the vibe I got from watching the trailer. But I'm like, this guy is doing a Street Fighter movie. Now, listen, I don't know. It could be good, could be bad. I mean, remember, right? The Russos were predominantly known for doing You, Me, and Dupree before getting brought on to go into Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So, that leap can happen. We don't know yet, right? I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I want to see what they're going to do with this. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with any of it, but we'll see what's going to go on. I'm so weirded out by it. It's going to be either really good or real bad. But the fighting community, they're going to make or break this movie. You know what I mean? They're going to make or break this movie. And so if you're in part of that community, I definitely want to know what you think. So let's get into the final story here before we get into the Q&A stuff. There was a big report coming out of the Hollywood Reporter yesterday about the crashing and burning of Elio and how apparently Pixar and Disney gutted the queer-coded storyline, and the original creator walked from the project. This is an interesting one because it feels like Brave all over again. I mean, just without like the gay storyline, right? So in a new report, it says here that the original creative vision centered on a queer-coded, introspective protagonist named Elio that was actually just kind of removed by studio leadership. The director of the film, Adrian Molina, initially pitched it as a coming-of-age story with themes of identity and self-expression, reportedly included elements like same-sex crushes, fashion creativity, and eco-conscious messaging. Those were later removed due to internal pressure to make the character more traditionally masculine. Entire sequences were cut, including a trash Eon show. It's like a fashion show. And key character moments. So, listen, you like they put this movie in front of an audience of people, and they asked if the people would go and see the movie, and no one raised their hand. You know what I mean? And maybe it was a bad focus group, maybe it was a bad this or a bad whatever, but it's like, look, if you're going to have a movie and you're going to have, an 11-year-old gay character based on the director who's also openly gay, and that's fine. It would have been an interesting version to see of the movie. But is that going to hit mass market 4-quadrant appeal? And like that at the end of the day is what Disney's all about, right? Disney's all about mass market appeal. And maybe we're just not there yet. Maybe we're just not in that moment, given everything politically where we are, things along those lines, they're just not there. They still need to sell Nikes to middle America. You know what I'm saying? And so, again, so when you're going to put these messages in a movie, right? This is the thing I don't get. This is the thing I don't get, right? I think everyone struggles with the idea of identity throughout the course of their life, right? I mean, many different times we will always try to let me change my hair. Let me change my style. Let me change my look. Let me change what I'm into. Let me change who I hang out with. Let me change who I date. Let me change this. Let me change that. Let me change. We're always moving. We are a boulder rolling down a hill, so to speak. And that is a universal theme that anyone can relate to. And I think the biggest problem right now is what we have is what you could almost refer to as main character syndrome, where a lot of these creatives are forgetting that this is meant to be an amalgamation, that this is meant to speak to the greater amount of people, mass market appeal. And then you can tell these messages, you can present these messages to gain that empathy, to show it as being normal, as being accepted, as being okay. You can do all of this. Right? You can do it all. You just got to, do it in a way that's like remove yourself, but keep the message, if that makes any sense. And I feel that's like a lot of what the Elio problem is. But anyway, Adrian Molina left the project to go work on Coco 2. Right. So that's kind of weird. They're like, Coco was a darling, with awards and with money and everything. And so, yeah, let's go work on Coco 2, a movie that has a beginning, a middle, and an end and doesn't need to do anymore. But of course, hey, look, Disney likes money, right? So whatever money they're going to lose on Elio, they're probably going to then make up on Coco. But then you had Turning Red's Domi Shi and Burrow's Madeline Sharfian stepping in. Burrow, by the way, great animated short film. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus. It's awesome. And Turning Red was really good as well. And I think Domi Shi really kind of came on in because the visual style, the bean mouth is what they're calling it, I think, of Turning Red and Elio are very similar. Like Luca, Turning Red, and Elio are like all part of the same like universe, it seems like, because they're all animated the same. Right. And so maybe Elio should have just gone to Disney Plus. I'm not too sure. But look, I understand that when it comes to filmmaking, when it comes to storytelling, these are things you have to kind of, they ebb and they flow. All right. You want it to be a deeply personal film with deeply rooted messaging and all of this stuff, which is great. But at the same time, then you have to realize that that's not always the case. You're not always going to be able to do that because it's got to be an amalgamation. It's got to be handled in a way that people are going to be able to resonate with. And those are universal themes of identity and trying to find out who you are. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like it's maybe, just maybe that's the biggest problem with all these conversations is that it's focused on one or two groups of people while everyone suffers with the same problems, issues, whether it is as big of a thing or less of a thing, it doesn't really matter, but everyone kind of deals with this. And it doesn't matter whether you're gay, straight, trans, whatever, everyone deals with it. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing, really. I think again, just remember that it's an amalgamation, and there you go. Okay. So let's go through and take a look here at some of these, the questions that I got from you guys, the anonymous questions. Question 1 here. Should Nick Cage Superman finally get his own movie? No. That time is gone. That time has passed. Nick Cage is older now. He probably wouldn't even want to do it. I'm glad we got to see that little bit in The Flash, despite the CG being terrible. It was cool to see that vision realized, but no. Nick Cage, let him do more things like The Surfer. Give me National Treasure 3. I'd rather have that one, okay? Thank you for that question. Next question here is, should Disney retcon the Star Wars sequels? Yeah, they should. I mean, they really should. I would do that. I can't say this, and it's not a decision that I would want to make lightly. It's not a decision that I would take any joy or pleasure in, but they went nowhere and they accomplished nothing. And people are still, again, they want to spend time between Andor and Mandalorian, right? Or the Andalorian. How about that? That timeline. We're just going to call it the Mandalorian, kind of Mandalorian timeline. Andor, Mando. Lori, anyway, I don't know, whatever. My brain's shot. However, yeah, they should, because they went nowhere. And this new Starfighter film that they're doing, that's going to apparently be taking place after the events of Episode 9. Why? Nobody wants them to go forward. Everybody wants them to either stay in the OT timeline, maybe the prequel timeline, or go back to the Knights of the Old Republic or things along those lines. And for some reason, it's like, this is pretty well known, and yet they're not wanting to do it. So I don't quite know. Here we go. Next question. Candy of choice when at the theater. Junior mints. Why? Because you can throw them at people who won't stop talking during the film. Easier than getting up. Well, here's the thing with that is, I like junior mints, so I wouldn't throw them at people. I would just go and use my big boy voice and walk over and tell them to shut the fuck up, which, as a person who used to manage movie theaters, yeah, I'm pretty good at walking up to people in a movie and going like, hey, I didn't pay to hear you talk. Shut the fuck up, And oftentimes they do. There's only been a couple times where there might have been a little bit of a confrontation. Now, granted, I was in a position of authority, of which I'm not anymore. So now I will go get someone who is in a position of authority so I can at least not get my ass beat. How about that one? All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening today. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Please leave your comments and thoughts below, and be sure to check out the Google form to send in your anonymous questions. I do look forward to that. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again for listening, and peace the hell out.